Now, on Sunday, the French will go to the first round of the polls to elect a new president in a year which can only be described as turbulent on the country's political scene. Last May, Dominic Strauss Kahn was the favourite to challenge President Sarkozy. He became embroiled in a sex scandal in New York and then another involving prostitutes and high-class hotels in France. After he withdrew, François Hollande became the favoured candidate of the left. Well, what impact has the DSK affair had? How has it reshaped the contest and influenced how French women will use their vote? Nabila Ramdani is a Paris-born freelance journalist of Algerian descent. Rainbow Murray from Queen Mary, University of London, is the author of Parties, Gender Quotas and Candidate Selection in France. Rainbow, what impact has the DSK scandal had in reshaping this election?
The most significant impact that it's had is that François Hollande is now the socialist candidate, something that is unlikely to have happened had the DSK scandal not taken place. DSK hadn't actually declared himself a candidate yet at the time of the scandal, but he was the front runner. He was expected to win the socialist primary, and then he was also expected to win the election, although I think his popularity would have waned in that period as more news about his darker side became publicised. But I think we've now seen that François Hollande has made a number of overtures towards women voters. He's talked a lot about women's rights in the policy proposals that he's put forward. And we're also going to see a rise in the number of women candidates in the parliamentary elections in June as a result of Socialist Party policy.
Nabila, what's been its influence on feminism in France? People say it's revitalised the movement, has it?
Yes, well, one thing I would say is that before the DSK scandal, there was very little discussion about the way women should be treated, and especially in the working environment. And I have noticed that that has changed with far more interest shown in how women can be better protected by the law. And I think that what the DSK scandal has certainly caused a great deal of anger in France, but it's not necessarily feminist anger. And my own view is that you certainly don't need to be a feminist to feel revulsion at hugely wealthy, powerful men exploiting women. And crucially, it's the anonymous nature of DSK's so-called conquests, which French women are particularly upset about. The prostitutes who accompanied him around the world were referred to as gear, for example, and he effectively said that they all looked the same with their clothes off, and hence him being unable to tell they were prostitutes.
Now, Rainbow, there does seem to be a consensus that Sarkozy and Hollande are the front runners, although there are obviously other prominent candidates. But what kind of woman would you say would vote for Hollande, and what type for Sarkozy?
There's a very clear age gap between the electorates of the two candidates. Younger women are much more likely to flock towards François Hollande, and Sarkozy benefits from a much more mature electorate. There's a certain portion of French society that predates the 68 protests and holds quite anti-feminist views. And these women helped Sarkozy win in 2007, and they're a core part of his electorate in 2012.
Now, Nabila, Rainbow mentioned that Hollande has worked quite hard to capture a women's vote. What exactly has he done?
Well, Hollande is a traditional socialist who has campaigned on equal pay for women and men, better childcare facilities, especially for single mothers. Generally speaking, he wants to raise the economic condition of women and so give them more life chances. Hollande, in my view, will also make every effort to get more women into government. He, for example, suggested that he may appoint Martine Aubry as Prime Minister, and this is a very forceful indication of representation. Remember that in France, it's the Prime Minister who runs the country.
Remember, when he first came to power, Sarkozy appointed a number of women to high office, including Christine Lagarde, who's now at the IMF. How much do you think she's regretting having gone to the IMF and perhaps not standing for presidency herself?
I don't think she would have stood for the presidency herself, irrespective of her move to the IMF at this stage in her career. When you've got an incumbent president, it's unusual to have another member of that party challenge the incumbent to be the candidate for re-election. So I think she would probably have at most hoped to have a new ministerial post in the next election. And so I think moving to the IMF was a good move for her. I should add that Martine Aubry has previously indicated that she wouldn't take the post of Prime Minister if it were offered to her. So I don't think we can yet be confident that France is about to see its second woman Prime Minister.
Rainbow, how much of a threat to Sarkozy is the one prominent woman in this race, Marine Le Pen, who leads the National Front?
She's no threat in the sense that she is likely to defeat him in the election. I think we're not likely to see a repeat of 2002 where the far-right candidate qualifies to the second round. Her threat is more that she's taking away votes that Sarkozy desperately needs. And so the real issue is whether those votes that are going to Marine Le Pen in the first round will transfer to Sarkozy in the second round. At the moment, he's only getting about 50% of the transfers from her, and that's not enough to secure him victory in the second round. So he needs to try and build more on that electorate, but at the moment she's attacking him quite hard, and so she's not giving any indication to her voters that he would be the candidate to support later on.
Rainbow, it's also been suggested, in fact some of today's papers are mentioning it, that Carla Bruni, President Sarkozy's wife, has been an electoral drawback for him. Why might that be?
I don't think this has been any particular quality of Carla Bruni per se. I think it's more that there has been too much mediatisation of his personal life. It was seen as unseemly and undignified for a president to air his dirty laundry in public. So this stems from his very public divorce. It also relates to his very public wooing of Carla Bruni, and since then he's tried to tone it down because it's been embarrassing, but it's still something that lingers in the public image as a sort of a rock star image that doesn't befit a president.
Rainbow, is that your phone?
It isn't. I don't know what's causing that, I'm sorry.
Oh dear. Nabila, it's not yours, is it?
No, it isn't.
OK, mystery noise in the background. But Nabila, Sarkozy introduced the law banning the veil in France. How will that play with women?
Well, the banning of the veil will, of course, be welcomed by feminists who view the garment as one which oppresses women, strangely enough. However, feminism was not the main motive for Sarkozy pushing this legislation through, and it was, in my opinion, a measure aimed at stigmatizing Muslim women and the community as a whole. And every argument was put forward about why women should not wear the burqa, ranging from fears of terrorism to fears of shoplifting. So straight away, this has alienated Sarkozy, the vote of some, 6 million Muslims in France. If I may just qualify what Rainbow said about Carla Bruni, I think she was a huge dent, in the Sarkozy vote. She will be, because Carla Bruni is not at all popular with women voters, and it's not so much that she's been as too right-wing, but that women do not trust her sudden transformation from a risque champagne socialist to a jumper-wearing conservative housewife.
Now, Nabila, Hollande's former partner, Ségolène Royal, stood and failed last time. What is her influence on his profile?
I don't think she's had much of an influence on his profile lately. His partner, however, his new partner has been present a lot in the media. She's been on the covers of glamorous magazines. She's said to be behind a transformation of the image of François Hollande. He's lost significant weight, and he also is always, seen in a good mood, cracking jokes, and she's, supposed to be behind all that, the revamping of his image.
So, Rainbow, where are you going to place your bet for the next president of France?
I think it's going to be François Hollande. For a long time I've said that Sarkozy could still come back and win it, and he has had an upward trend in the polls for several months, but that upward trend has now declined and he's going back down, and his only prospects for winning it are if he manages to maintain that momentum, which currently doesn't appear to be the case.
And Nabila, who are you putting your money on?
Well, with Hollande ahead in the polls in the first round, and more crucially with at least a 14-point lead in the second round, then the carrots are cooked, as Sarkozy's own Prime Minister admitted.
So it's going to be Hollande. Both
Absolutely.
of you reckon that?
I think so, yes.
Nabila Ramdani and Rainbow Murray, thank you both very much indeed for being with us this morning.